Alright, good morning, Wasteland. Mr. G bringing myself the coffee, you the Crossout. We are on the public test server, and we're going to give you guys the breakdown on nerfs and buffs on a whole slew of changes coming down the pipe. Let's waste no more time. First, out the door, Summiter. What is it getting? It is getting a 12% nerf damage reduction. Boom. Still feels pretty good. You can still do single shot. They didn't change the perk. Still got decent burst damage, but you're not going to be seeing it quite as strong as it was before. Next up, the Piercer, which on the last pass got a little bit of a durability buff, is going to get an across-the-board damage increase of 5%. So they're giving it a little bit of a buff. Next up, the biggie, the one you guys all want to hear about, the Nest, which is taking over Crossout, is Nest Apocalypse. Just like when Cacossus dropped years ago, well, it's getting a Mondo nerf. Number one, rockets are not going to pass through vehicle parts, so they're not going to go through your spaced armor, clip through stuff. The time between rocket attachment and detonation has been increased from 2.4 to 3 seconds. They've also increased lock-on time by an entire second. Okay, so that's going to take you even longer. Sorry, lock-on time increased by half a second from 2 to 2.5. Weapon reload is increased 1 second from 6 to 7. And it's increased the turning radius, meaning that if I try and point blank somebody, it's not going to work. Take a peek. So, is that going to be enough to make people stop using them? Absolutely not, because it just takes very little skill to use it. You just click and you go, and that's it. But hey, it's a step in the right direction. Next up, the Locust is going to get a damage reduction of 7%. It's been a solid unguided missile the whole time. Is it still going to do decent damage? Yes, just a bit of a nerf there. Next up, the Phoenix is going to get a durability reduction from 418. Actually, not a durability reduction. Sorry, guys. Durability increase from 380 to 418, which is great because it's a gigantic hitbox. The Lacerator is going to get a buff of 7%. So maybe you want to use a little bit more melee out there. You don't see a ton of people using the Lacerator, but they've been continuing to buff it the last few passes, so maybe this will make it more usable. Next up, we have gone ahead and tweaked the Aurathron, which had that goofy shotgun shot that went from a solid pellet and then would burst apart. Well, they decided it just needed a straight up 10% damage buff, so you can expect it to be a little bit better. Just the impulse on it there. There you go when you get that burst shell. So we can actually use this thing at range. Alright, it's got a solid buff there across the board. Next up, Fafnir, which has always been a decent shotgun, is getting a damage reduction of 5%. So at least they didn't hit it with the big bat. They went ahead and hit it with the baby bat. Next up, after the Fafnir, we're going to be looking at the Cacossus. Now, when this thing first dropped, it was the first no-aim, no-skill weapon ever to hit the Wasteland, and it was like Nests are now, except worse. But you haven't seen this because it's gotten hit with the Nerf bat so many times, you almost see no one using it, and they decided, hey, let's hit it with the Nerf bat again. What did they do? They made the weapon turn speed reduced by 14%, so it's going to be a lot harder for you to run away and for this thing to stay on target because it just can't turn fast enough. So it was already kind of useless. It's even more useless. Now, Lancelots. Well, they got it across the board. 10% damage reduction. Is that going to matter when you have somebody running 5, 6, 7, 8 of them? I don't know. But it's definitely a nerf across the board. Now, I should have made a better build for this than I did, but I had to re-record this because my audio got screwed up. But they made a big buff to armored tracks. So tonnage increase from 3,800 to 4,000. 25% explosion damage resistance. Awesome. PS increased from 550 to 625, and they reduced the turn radius, saying it will make it easier for builds using 4 of these to turn, but not if you put them on a tiny cab, G, you big dingus. Okay, next up, Draco, which was already really awesome, is getting what? It is getting a bonus to damage of 5%. Also, while we're out here with the Draco, showing how awesome it is, the Humpy, which we haven't seen hardly used at all, is getting a bonus to its perk of 25% bumped up to 30. And if you don't know, the Humpback's perk gives additional damage while you take damage. Now the Punisher, it's getting its hit pretty hard with the Nerf bat. Why? Because they made it so the perk no longer minimizes the spread. So when I land shots, you'll notice that it's not getting more accurate or minimizing the spread. So they were like, it's too powerful. So pretty big nerf bat there to the Punisher. Now the Foon, whoops, get back there. The Foon's getting a buff nerf combo. Yeah. The perk duration on the Typhoon is getting buffed from 3 to 4 seconds. So that's a 25% increase on the perk. But they reduced the impulse by 30%. But as you can see, we still flipped that entire vehicle over in one shot. So feels like a pretty solid buff to the Foon. But the biggie that we've all been waiting for was our latest in relic weapons, the Mastodon, which was pretty hard to use because it was so much delay between everything. Well, they've gone ahead and buffed everything. Now our double charges 17% faster. But the delay between shots was reduced by 1/3. So it's a lot easier to get both shots on target. And on top of that, icing on the cake, they made it so the first shot heats it up 17% more. Guys, that one is it for this one. Just like and subscribe to stay up to date on all things Crossout. If you'd like to support my classroom, it's really expensive being an elementary school teacher right now because we spend so much on hand sanitizer. Some links down there. A friend of mine set it up just so I didn't have to use my name in there, but that's going to support my classroom as well. And actually, my whole grade level. So if you're somebody and you got deep pockets and you want to help kids that could really use it, do that. If you're out there working to survive, don't do that. Take care of you. Mr. G, out.